exchanges. Aptos, the third largest for stable coins right now on the planet. Might want to start using these stablecoin things just in case they catch on. Pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. Before I bring Chris on, the one last thing I wanted to talk about, I got asked this question so many times at Money 2020, which was strange. And I did do a podcast there where I was the guest. And people, actually, I'm just going to bring Chris on. We're going to talk about this really quick before we go. No, because I've had a lot of people ask, the 4-year cycle, and are we still in a bull market, or is this a bear market? And people very confused about sentiment. And I thought pretty deeply about this, and I gave it a couple times. This has been, for most people, the worst bull market ever. Right?
Yeah.
So I think, unless you're an expert trader, which very few people we know are, but generally, if you had a plan for this cycle, or you've seen Bitcoin go from 17,000 up to 126,000, unless you were simply one of those people who dollar cost averages and buys Bitcoin and waited and are just holding and have been a smart investor, almost everybody has found a creative way to lose a shit ton of money in this bull market again. And like, we didn't have an FTX or a Celsius or any of those things necessarily, but it's very hard to find someone who's been around for a long time who's made money. And that's because first, Bitcoin went up and altcoins kind of haven't, right? So all the people who are waiting for like their altcoin to finally make its 100x move that they've been holding since 2017, that just hasn't happened. So we didn't get the alt season as of yet that many anticipated. And then we had this massive treasury company trend. And so all the like real crypto people, like I'm talking about the billionaire investors, even those guys. And I was talking to James Lavish about this. They went heavily into treasury companies, watched the stocks go way up. But by the time they actually had shares, they're all underwater. So everybody's losing money on Wall Street right now too. And everybody who bought the IPOs of all of these crypto companies that have done exceptionally well in a vacuum, they're all down because they bought it like the first couple of days. So everybody's getting wrecked in the stock market on crypto stocks, even though they've performed. And then we have the largest liquidation event in history, 12 times bigger than FTX. So all the crypto degen people who were deeply in leverage and on these got liquidated on everything.
Yeah.
Some bull market, really fun. Great times.
Yeah. What's funny about it is if you look, if you zoom out to your weekly or monthly chart, if you get out of all that other stuff, if you're in Bitcoin, I mean, you're just moving up, right? I mean, you're moving up and then you're sideways, and then you're moving up and then you're sideways, right? This monthly chart, right, or this weekly chart right here shows everybody's been freaking out since the liquidation event you mentioned here. And what have we done? We are sitting on that previous support here, or resistance, right? Which was in this area and this area. Support here, still support here, and currently attempting to push out above the previous support here, resistance area. I mean, when you zoom out, you've got Bitcoin here pulling back on the RSI right about the same level it's pulled back on every a pullback here since we got going right off the bear market low here. You pulled back here.
That's the weekly, right?
Yeah, this is the weekly. Yeah. And every time it pulls back right around the same area.
Incredible that RSI can pull back with price at like 113. Yeah, on a weekly, right? It used to be that like for weekly RSI to move, you have to have huge moves, and we can just kind of go sideways and have RSI reset even on high time frames. It's pretty, shows you a lot.
And something else I saw on crypto Twitter here, man, God, it's such a, I got to be honest, a lot of the stuff that passes as analysis is really just nonsense, and I feel really bad for people that are just trying to get going and trying to understand analysis. I saw somebody say, "Oh yeah, we need to drop below that liquidation event, and then our weekly RSI will reset at 0, and then we can go up." And I'm thinking, it hasn't reset. It hasn't gotten below like that 48 area the entire bull run for years here. Why do you all of a sudden think it needs to drop down to 0? Right? I mean, it's even the simple analysis like that that's really killing traders out there, and the traders don't know. They're listen, we're highly emotional, right? You and me, Scott, everybody else, we're highly emotional. That's what, that's part of what makes us human. We have emotions. And when you do that and you come into something where you have money on the line and you're not sure what you're doing, right? Because you really have no education, you have no experience especially, it's easy to get caught up in the nonsense that's pushed on social media. And you end up just losing money. And it's really unfortunate because people are losing money that they don't need to lose, again, as always, it's that emotion. Everybody out there thinks it's Wall Street manipulating them. They think it's crypto whales stealing their money. But at the end of the day, it's really just they're losing the battle with themselves, with their emotion. That is, the number one most important thing you have to figure out, because you can have great risk management. You can understand how to read liquidity flows in the market, all this stuff we teach. But at the end of the day, if you can't get past your own emotions, you're not going to be able to do it, because it's going to force you to do things you shouldn't be doing. And it ends up, again, like you were saying, you're losing money in a bull market. But I just want to bring this up because that weekly, we're right around that area where it usually pops if we get the pullback. We're sitting right between these two, this resistance and this support right here, trying to push out higher. We've got Jerome Powell who's going to be speaking today. We've got options. I think you mentioned that earlier, coming up. Expiry coming up this week, at the end of this week. There's a lot going on here. And the thing is, with the government shutdown, a lot of the big money trades based on, these government numbers. I know on crypto Twitter, everybody likes to talk about how they're all fake numbers or whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is the big money is trading based on them. And when you don't have those government numbers in there, you get what we have now, which is a lot more volatility generally, because without those government numbers kind of coming in there, everybody's going off private numbers. They're going off news events, headline events or whatever. And this is what you'll tend to see. So, we're kind of just sitting at this point. Everybody's freaking out and we haven't done anything yet. Now, if we zoom in a little bit local here, let's see, that was a week. Let's zoom into the 4 hour here. We've got some good movement up off this low here from last Friday. Excuse me. Again, we caught this move up here. We got the pullback. We caught the breakout again up there. We pulled back. And so right now we've pulled back in 3 moves here to the weekly pivot. So if this weekly pivot holds, or this area right around here, we could dip a little bit lower into this. I don't think we do, but we could. But if we're breaking out above 116, 114 here on this chart, and this is the Coinbase chart, Bitcoin USD, our next 2 targets we're looking at locally are going to be that 119.070 and 127.14, which effectively takes us up here to, we've had these large fair value gaps here coming down on this 4 hour. And that kind of takes you back up there through them and over to that support, over to this support and that support. And if we're doing that, for me already, the fact that we've broken out above this 115, almost 116 area, that was what I was looking for to indicate that the low is likely in. So we've done that now. So, for me, I'm, looking upward anyway, but just based on this right here, getting above that 116, 114 gives us those 2 immediate targets there, and likely sends us up toward 133 really as the next bigger target. Now, do I necessarily want to get in a position this morning in really much of anything? Not really. I think if you're in a position and you're pretty good in profit, I think you're okay. But, with Jerome Powell coming up and speaking, that volatility should, be expected to really increase. And if you're just getting in a position, it can whipsaw back against you, knock you out before it continues, in whatever direction it's going to go. So, I'm a little hesitant always opening a position there on those FOMC days.
Yeah, why trade a news event? Right. And the S&P already kind of gapped up a little bit at the open. It's at 6,000 SPX over 6,900. So, we get that anticipatory thing, and the market does something stupid. It's usually the wrong way, and everybody overreacts, and then it just kind of keeps doing what it's doing.
And then again, like I said, because the government shut down and no government numbers coming out, that volatility tends to be exponential even. So you're going to get more volatility, or you should expect more volatility than what you would normally expect anyway. It's just the way, people work. It's just the way these big companies work. But anyway, so, I'm not hating Bitcoin right now. I'm looking for that next breakout higher to get up if you're not already in. I do, again, alts have been, really kind of a bit more difficult, but I've got some here that I'm really kind of interested in. We were The market wrap last night, one of the altcoins I mentioned was Trump, and that thing took off this morning. It's almost hit our target overnight. So that was a good one. So I won't be putting that one here. But this is Rose, and Rose has this nice kind of expansion into contraction. You've got this this bottom that's kind of gradually flattening out here. Usually that's an indication of a low forming, and you're going to move up. We also have right here, we have this lower lows in price, and we have higher lows here in the oscillator. So that gives us bullish divergence off these points. So I'm looking for a breakout here on Rose. If we can kind of find support here at this S1 pivot on the weekly, or the weekly S1 pivot, we're looking for a breakout above that 0.01717. That should give us an initial target up there, 0.01982 area. And then 0.02176 would be my next target. If we're popping up through there, I mean, I don't think it might necessarily go straight up. We could get like a move up into this supply here in this wick and a pullback and then going. But the next kind of structural target would be this 0.02712 area right there. So a lot of potential upside on Rose here if we can hold support here at this weekly S1 pivot and pop up higher. I do have a couple more here. Let me see. I've got CRV right here. And so, you know, again, CRV, kind of the same thing. I mean, you have to understand we're consolidating. So, you know, when you're consolidating like that, you know, pretty much anything can happen. But we pull back again to the weekly S1 pivot. We have slightly higher lows here on price, and we've got lower lows here on the oscillator. So hidden bullish divergence, which means continuation of the bullish trend. And so if we can kind of hold this S1 pivot area and break out above 0.5709, that would be, an indication to go long. And your stop loss is always going to go right below, whatever I'm talking about here. It's got these pullbacks, the S1 pivot. Stop loss should be just below that. There's no reason to put it way down here. It makes no sense. Just put it right there below that. But if you get that breakout, the targets up there are 0.775, 0.7775, and 0.8450. So 84.5 cents there would be my two local targets getting here. By the way, if we hit these targets I'm talking about on these, then what you're going to be looking at is that the low is all but guaranteed to be in. I mean, you should be definitively long, looking for longs for alts if this happens, if these kind of happen here. And then we've got we got ZK here. ZK, I thought was interesting. Again, we got the pullback to the weekly S1 pivot. And all these, if you notice, we're resetting on the stochastic RSI here. This one has this very clearly defined kind of resistance coming down right prior to the pivot. So impulsive breakout and close above that, really above the pivot. I would say above the descending resistance, but the pivot's right there. So go ahead and say above 0.035. Should have us heading higher. And within that, I mean, you can look initially if you want. You can look right around this, let me see here. I can't get this pulling in. Right around this, what is this area right here? 0.04. That would be like an initial kind of target area. But I think if we're getting this breakout here, I think we're running it up here toward this previous kind of resistance area just prior to closing above this bearish fair value gap here at about 0.0508. Beyond that, the next target would be 0.06794 on that right there. And this is ZK USD. So, we've got some setups here. As always, I never say, hey, listen, you need to go right now.
If this happens, then you do this. It's not that hard,
if
guys.
Not, then you don't. Exactly. You put your stop loss just below that recent swing low there. I see a lot of people that try to put their stop losses a lot lower because they're scared to lose money. The reality is you're going to lose money, as a trader. I've posted, I trade live with our students, 3 times a week. I traded Monday and Tuesday this week. I posted, the results of what happened. I had 2 wins, 1 loss on Monday. I had 2 losses, 1 win on Tuesday, and still made, decent money for both days. You can't be scared to lose money if you're trading because you're going to lose it from time to time because nobody has 100% strike. You just can't. And the strike rate isn't the most important thing. It's what is your risk adjusted return? What is your profit factor? These kind of things. Those.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's the one thing that the traders that are new to markets tend to ignore. They think, I've got to get everything right, And the more perfectionist you try to be, coming from somebody who was raised to be a perfectionist, the more difficulty you're going to have in trading. You have to understand that there's, beauty in that chaos that's markets. And so your risk management becomes the most important thing you're doing out there. Your risk management, then your exit, then your entry. Your entry is the third most important thing of the three. But people focus on the entry. They focus on trying to get 100% strike rate. They don't think about their risk management. They're scared to put a stop loss in there because they think their stop loss is going to get hit. Listen, guys, if you're putting a stop loss in and it's getting hit consistently, that's information for you. That's telling you you're not understanding structure. You're not understanding where to put your stop loss. But again, that gets people fearful. They put it really low. And, it just becomes an all in every time they go in, no proper risk management. And that's really what's hurting people more than anything else. That's what's making them lose a lot of money, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's trading, man. It's like Sex Panther, 60% of the time it works every time.
That's right. That's right. I noticed you're with the movie quotes this morning. You've been hanging out with Mr. Andrew a little bit too much, maybe?
Maybe. I'm just like dead tired, and my brain has like reset to my most childish and like inane setting. I'm operating on like a 2. So, when in doubt, just quote funny movies that everyone knows. And I think today might have been my most like stumbled, confused intro I've ever done on the show. I came on, I was like, what's the word for it's just brutal.
There were words
you just couldn't find. You know what? I showed up for 2 days at 6 a.m. in Vegas for this.
There you go. Right. That's what it is.
Let them do Macro Monday without me. Could have.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Let Andrew just do it yesterday.
But here's the thing. The people, often look at me as just a technical trader, which I am, right? I trade based on the chart. I don't trade on narratives. I don't trade on news events, all that kind of stuff. But my background is in that, right? I've got an economics background. So I understand all these things. It's just, I understand them enough to know that what's going on with that is already in the charts. But, people tend to want to hear it. I mean, as you can see, as right? People come in, they want to hear narratives. They want to hear, what they believe is, something outside of just what's going on in the charts. They believe charts can't possibly tell you. But at the end of the day, when you understand that everything that happens, not just in trading, but in the world is based on social mood, right? When you really jump down that rabbit hole and you start understanding that, then you understand that, listen, when it comes to markets, the fastest way you understand that social mood, how people are feeling, because that's going to determine what's going on, is when where their money's going. Is their money going in? Is their money coming out? And once you understand that, you start front running everything else that's going on with all the news events. In life as a trader, it doesn't become easy, but it becomes a lot less difficult. And, that's the key, right? We're just trying to add up our probabilities, include as much of that as possible before we take a trade. So
smart guy. It's the reason I learned trading from this guy, and you should too. So check out TX West Capital, of course, on X, everything he has. Chris, I know I owe you a WhatsApp, but maybe we'll just announce that next week.
All right, man.
Because I don't have it. Yeah. And then we'll figure that out. And everybody else, I will be back tomorrow, hopefully better rested. That's the plan. And Chris, man, thank you so much, as always.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
Let's go.